Tonight marks the halfway point of the regular season, and it's time for some plot twists to come in and shake things up. Our crew was out on the sidelines to see who the game changers would be. The excitement only goes up from here, and it's all coming up next on Gridiron Glory! Welcome to the set of Gridiron Glory. I'm your host, Danny Dean, back under center. Tonight we have a packed show for you over the next 30 minutes, so let's get it started. South Gallia and Eastern battled, and Vinton County took a trip to Athens looking to kickstart a little win streak. Logan returned home after a 3-week road trip for a rivalry game against NY. The Philo Electrics played John Glenn, hoping to stay undefeated in the MVL. Meigs and River Valley faced off, both wanting to bounce back after last week. Let's break the huddle and start it off in the Hawking. Tonight in Reedsville, the Eastern Eagles played host to the South Gallia Rebels, and TVC Hawking reporter Joseph Payton was there to take in all of the action.
Yeah, Danny, last year's game between these two teams was an absolute nail-biter, with Eastern coming out on top 26-21. And with both teams coming into tonight's game with an impressive shutout win last week, you knew it was going to be an intense battle of football out there. Eastern, they came rolling out in style, wearing the all-black uniforms. Man, I love those. Look good, play good. So on Eastern's first drive, Jet Facemeyer drops back. He finds his brother Blaze Facemeyer for a nice 20-yard pickup. That's a first down for the Eagles. 3 plays later, the Facemeyer connection happens again. Jet takes the snap, rolls out to his left. He's going to make the throw. The ball gets tipped in the air by a defender, but look at the concentration by Blaze Facemeyer to come up with this catch. He takes off. He's gone 60 yards to the house. 6-0 Eagles. South Gallia now on 4th and goal from the 4-yard line. It's a handoff to Johnny Sheets, but he's stuffed by the Eagles defense. Big time stop there for Eastern. But jump ahead to the second quarter, same score, and Sheets will not be denied. He finds a seam, shows us that breakaway speed there, and takes it 38 yards into the end zone for the score. Rebels on top now 7-6. Eastern on the ensuing possession. Facemeyer. He guns it across the field here to John Wolf, who makes the catch, crosses the goal line for the 19-yard touchdown. So the Eagles back in command, 14-7. 4 seconds left in the half now. Facemeyer buys himself some time, finds Wolf again for the touchdown as time expires. Eagles lead 20-7 at halftime, and they would go on to win this game 40-15.
Well, it's a solid win for the Eagles there, Joseph, but South Gallia's offense, what was going on there?
Well, Danny, the thing about South Gallia's offense is that they absolutely love to pound the ball up the middle with their running backs. They want the ball in Johnny Sheets' hands as much as possible, but at the same time, I think that makes their offense a little one-dimensional. Now, Sheets is an absolute tank, and he can really bulldoze his way ahead for yardage, but it also makes their offense very slow and methodical. So tonight, when Eastern increased their lead to more than 1 touchdown, it made it really hard for South Gallia to get back in the game because they're not a fast offense that can score quickly.
Well, Eastern's offense looks only a little different than South Gallia's. How did that work for their advantage tonight?
Well, like you said, Danny, Eastern's offense is a little different than South Gallia's. They spread it out a lot more and they love to let Jet Facemeyer distribute the ball out to his playmakers. They're able to score and score quickly, and a prime example of that came at the end of the second half. Eastern forced South Gallia to punt and took over on offense with 29 seconds left in the second quarter. They were able to manage time well, drive 27 yards down the field, and score on the last play of the half. I think their ability to score quickly really gave them an advantage over the Rebels tonight, because once they took a commanding lead, it really put South Gallia out of the game. You know, I'm really impressed with this Eastern offense that I saw tonight, Danny. Jet Facemeyer played a good, clean football game and willed his team to win. These teams were pretty even coming into tonight's game, and Eastern really flexed their muscles tonight. It was a great win for the Eagles on homecoming.
Well, you know, it's always great to win on homecoming. Thanks a lot for your work tonight. And for more on that Hawking matchup and the rest of our games we covered tonight, go straight to our website, woub.org/gridiron. Not only do we have recaps of Friday's action, you'll also find some player profiles that feature more of the guys that left it on the gridiron. Don't think we forgot about the midweek content, though. Online host Eric 3 and our reporters are bringing you video previews and their predictions. You may agree to disagree with them, but you have to tune in to make sure. It's all on woub.org/gridiron. Everything about Vinton County's mindset changed last week. But hey, getting your first win will do that for a team. And tonight, the Vikings were motivated to keep making progress. TVC Ohio reporter Megan Vanzo went down the street to the Plains to see if Vinton County's momentum could continue against Athens.
Coach Towns said a TVC Ohio title is now in Vinton's reach, and a big performance in Athens would surely turn the season around. However, the Bulldogs had other plans in mind. All kinds of Bulldogs came out suited up and excited to take on the Vikings tonight. But Athens went 3 and out on their first drive, and it looks like they'll punt again on this one until Robert Tickleman connects with Logan Maxfield downfield to put Athens in great field position. Their next play, Tyler Roback guts it up the middle and puts Athens on the board. It's 7-0 Vinton County. And 7-0 Athens, excuse me. Vinton County went 3 and out, so Sano looks deep down the field for Andy Costable, and he makes the grab. Later in the drive, it's 4th down again, and this time with 18 yards to go, and Stano finds Trace Albin to cap off an 87-yard drive. Now Vinton County wants to hang with the Dogs, so Nevin Yates gets off that leash and just takes off for the end zone. No one was going to stop this guy. Athens, though, retaliates with another touchdown, and on a different drive, Michael Castillo goes fee-fi-fo-fum and breaks through 1 tackle, 2, 3. I can't even keep track, Danny. He takes it in, and the Dogs are up 35-7. Vinton County wants to respond fast, and they sure do. In 1 minute and just 3 plays, Nyland Yates jukes his way past the defenders until he scores. The Vikings' only time on Athens' side of the field during the half was on their 2 scoring drives. Athens led at halftime 48-14 and won 63-14.
Big win for Athens, Megan. They're definitely showing signs of taking that TVC Ohio crown. Now, you said it was 48-14 at half. Must have been an explosive Bulldog offense tonight.
It sure was, Danny, and spearheading that attack was Bulldog quarterback Brendan Sano. Sano had 4 touchdown passes just in the first half and is the reason Athens completely dominated. He finished the night with 198 passing yards and led the offense in their 578 total yards on the night. He capitalized on a weak Viking defense and excellent performance from several receivers.
So it looks like the Vikings defense stood no chance against Athens. How did the Vinton County offense deal with that Bulldog defense?
Vinton County tried way too many times to get things going in the air, and it was not working. Every drive we saw incomplete pass after incomplete pass, and it's actually surprising that Athens didn't grab any of them. Nayland Yates finished with just 4 of 19 on the night and also suffered from 2 sacks from Gage Penrod, including one for a loss of 12 yards. In fact, Nayland Yates only threw for 2 yards tonight. You can't run an offense if you're only throwing for 2 passes. Vinton County's rushing attack was decent tonight, but Athens had them beat there too. Athens has 2 dangerous running backs in Michael Castile and Tyler Roback. The 2 split time carrying the rock, and they ran for 215 total offensive yards tonight, which is more than Vinton County's total offense. So Athens takes their 2nd conference win, and they did it in support of Child Cancer Awareness Month by supporting the Go Gold Fund tonight. So a big win for them, but also a heartfelt one, Danny.
Definitely heartfelt, a great cause. Thanks a lot, Megan. What's your Monday ritual? You get up, brush your teeth, get ready for school, and then you read the Gridiron Glory newsletter. If that's not how you start your week, I think it's about time you adjust your schedule. The newsletter has conference standings, all the games we're covering, and a look back from the top highlight from Friday night. To subscribe to the email, subscribe to the newsletter, just send us an email to gridiron@woub.org. Before we move on to the rest of the action, let's take a step back and look at how the conferences in our coverage are stacking up. Scott McDonald joins me now to break down the MVL, SEOAL, and our Columbus teams.
Thanks, Danny. What a great first half of the season it has been so far. Week 5 has just wrapped up, and league races are beginning to take shape in the Muskingum Valley League. 4 teams are in the hunt for the title, starting with Tri-Valley, who, stop me if you've heard this before, are leading the MVL, and after tonight's 40-7 victory, now stand at 5-0. Just below them, however, is where we start seeing the parity. 3 teams are 4-1, all of which are fighting for the top. You better believe the Scotties had the final 3 weeks circled on that calendar. They will play Sheridan, Meigsville, and then at Philo. All those teams will either be looking to play spoiler or win the outright championship. The 3-week gauntlet will be tough, but if history is any indication, Coach Buttermore will have his boys ready. Now looking at the SEOAL, one team appears to be head and shoulders above the rest of the pack. Despite the loss tonight, the Jackson Ironmen look much better than their league foes. Next week, the Ironmen will start league play against Warren and then Logan in back-to-back weeks. These games will decide who wins the final league championship as the league disbands after the year. On to the Columbus teams. At the top of the rankings sits Bloom Carroll at 4-1, then it is Zane Trace, Fairfield Union, and Unioto, all of which hold a 3-2 record. One thing is certain, these final 5 weeks are going to encapsulate what makes Ohio high school football so great.
Well, thanks a lot, Scott. Now let's switch it over to the Tri-Valley Conference. Clark Wick stopped by to give us the TVC rundown.
See, with week 5 in the book, Danny, there is still a ton of football left to be played. This is the point in the season where we start getting a glimpse of who will go home with that coveted TVC Hawking title. As of right now, the Southern Tornadoes are all alone at the top with a perfect 5-0 record after a 34-18 win over Belpre. Right behind the Tornadoes, Isaac Huffman and the 4-1 Waterford Wildcats are looking to keep up with Southern after the 54-14 win against Frontier. But we can't count out last year's champs as Trimble is still in the mix with a 3-2 record after picking up a 34-14 win over Miller. Filling out the rest of the Hawking, we have 5 teams, all with 2 wins, looking to turn their season around and make a case for that Hawking championship. Now over on the other side of the TVC, Athens is putting together yet another impressive season as the Bulldogs sit at 4-1 after their 63-14 win over the 2-3 Vinton County Vikings. This team will be hard to stop as quarterback Brendan Sarno and the Bulldogs have outscored their opponents 184-82 through just 5 games. But this is the TVC Ohio where no lead is safe. Right behind the Bulldogs, we have River Valley, Nelsonville-York, Meigs, and Wellston, all with 3-2 records. Lucky for us, Athens has all 4 of the teams I just mentioned remaining on their schedule. If the Bulldogs want to regain the title of TVC Ohio champions, they better get used to having a big target on their back.
Yeah, Clark, tonight we clearly saw that Athens, they are the clear leader in the Ohio, and I do have a feeling that Meigs and Nelsonville, they'll creep up and take them on later in the season. Thanks a lot. And for Logan, it's been a rocky start to the season. We're not used to seeing a winless Chieftain team. In fact, Logan's record this time last year was completely opposite. And tonight, Blake Baker went out to see if the Chieftains could try to get their first win against Nelsonville-York.
This is a matchup that dates back to 1967, and since then, Logan has rarely been the underdog. This season, however, that seems to be the case, as the Chieftains entered week 5, still searching for win number 1. Now, Logan's been on the road since week 1, and they're ready to get the ball rolling on their home turf. And they really do get the ball rolling as they pick up an onside kick on the opening kickoff. But after a quick 3-and-out, they will give the ball back to Nelsonville-York, and they'll get their first crack on offense. Going for it on 4th down is Hunter Edwards. He's rolling out to his right. He'll connect with his receiver just at the first down marker, but it's stripped away by a Logan defender. So the Chiefs get the ball back, but once again squander an opportunity and have to punt. This time it's blocked, though, and recovered in their own end, deep in their own end, by Nelsonville-York. Now, penalties prevented them from scoring, so it's 0-0 at the half. Flash forward to the 3rd quarter. Alex Mount is a beast, and he's going to show you why. 36 yards to pay dirt for the first score of the game. Nelsonville-York is on the board, and they're just getting started. Edwards once again rolling to his right. Connects with Chris Cook, who shakes an arm tackle, turns on the burners, and no one's going to catch this guy. 65 yards for the second score for the Buckeyes. He's still going. Crosses the line now, 14-0. Edwards once again rolling out. This time he feels some pressure, scrambling around, looking for a safety valve, and he'll find one in a wide open Noah Andrews, who's going to make a couple guys miss, reverse field for a 35-yard touchdown, and the Buckeyes would just keep pouring it on. 2 more scores in the 4th quarter, 35-0 NY in this one. They get their 3rd win of the season against Logan.
NY on a roll, so even after that slow opening half, NY was able to put up 35 points. What kind of adjustments did the Buckeyes make at halftime?
The real strength of this Buckeyes team is in its run game. And all they needed to do in the second half was simply keep pounding the ball on the ground and wear away at that Chieftain defense. The 3-headed monster of Alex Mount, Noah Andrews, and Hunter Edwards combined for another huge night on the ground. What the Buckeyes couldn't do in the first half was escape Logan's front 7. But when they found success in the second half, it was when they crossed that front line and let their best playmakers work in open space. When a defender is on an island with these guys, it's not an easy task to bring them down, Danny.
So after 5 games, Logan, they're still winless. What do the Chieftains have to do to get over this hump?
Danny, we all know that you can't win if you can't score. That's been Logan's biggest issue this season, is they've now been shut out for the 3rd time. The Chieftains failed to convert on several 3rd downs, and even when they managed long drives, they just couldn't finish them off. In the 3rd quarter, NY ran 11 plays and scored 21 points, while Logan ran 19 plays without finding the end zone. They have to shore up the offensive efficiency and just put points on the board. If they just do that, they'll give themselves a lot better chance at their first W.
And looking ahead to next week, Nelsonville-York, they're going to improve, right?
Yeah, they're going to improve to 2-0 in the conference play if they beat the Marauders of Meigs in a crucial TVC Ohio matchup next week. And Logan gets another shot at a longtime rival when Athens comes to town on Friday. I think it is important to note that early Friday morning, legendary Nelsonville-York coach Dave Boston Sr. passed away, and you could definitely tell his Buckeyes play with a lot of energy for him tonight.
Definitely played out there for him. Thanks a lot, Blake. And earlier in the show, we checked in on how all our teams are hanging after 5 weeks of play. Definitely some dark horses stepping up, and we've seen historic powerhouses that just aren't getting off to the strong start. Coming up on this week's Facebook Live, it's time for some more power rankings. We're evaluating every conference, top to bottom, before the second half of the regular season gets going. Keep an eye on Gridiron's Facebook page and our Twitter account. We'll announce what time we're going live on Facebook. The season is slowly ticking away, and online host Eric Threet is here to recap more midseason storylines in this week's 3-3.
You know, Danny, there's always something to talk about. Stories are everywhere. But as the year wears on, focuses start to shift. This is the time where every play matters, where every win matters. So I wanted to see what drives teams to deliver on every play, whether it's a player who is dominant at his position, a tenured coach who demands excellence, or an inspiration behind the scenes. Every team has a story. Now, these are the stories that you can see, the players. It's easy to see when you have money on the field. Junior quarterback Nalen Yates broke Vinton County's single-game passing record with 359 yards a few weeks ago and is on pace to break the single-season record in a few weeks. But you can't talk about passing attacks and not mention River Valley. Trey Craycraft had 175 first-half receiving yards. And if they weren't up by so much, he would have obliterated the school record. And, of course, Warren bodied Bellsville in a 65-0 shutout. Now, the next storyline is Coach Andy Hall. Last week, he picked up win number 63 as Jackson's head coach, which is tied for the most in school history. Now, 8 seasons on the sidelines, 2 of them undefeated, 2 of them one loss, no losing seasons. I mean, what more do I have to say? When you talk about building a solid foundation, Coach Hall is that. He expects the best, and his players reflect that. Now, bringing out the best of the Wellston Rockets is a small part of what my number 1 does for others. Austin Milliken has inspired the Rocket football team, the Wellston community, myself, and I hope he can motivate and move you all as well. Austin is the football manager for the Rockets, and he has a disability called arteriovenous malfunction. His arteries and veins have an abnormal connection, which result in a daily battle for Austin. Before the Alexander Wellston game, he was honored and presented with a plaque, donations, Cavs tickets. The crowd was wearing Austin's Army shirt. He's just an amazing kid. I'm one of his soldiers too, and for next week, on my segment, I'll have Austin's full story. But that's all I got for you, Danny.
I've definitely got to get one of those shirts, Eric. I'm really looking forward to hearing Austin's story. Thanks a lot. And I got to give it to the players and fans. Your Snapchat game, it's improved every single week. For our snap of the night, we have the man himself, Blake McCoy. He looks like he's in a Beast ad. You better watch out, Cam Newton. He's really in the zone. Probably thinking about what Eric just mentioned, getting Coach Hall that historic 64th win. Unfortunately, the Ironmen didn't pull it off, but there's still lots of time left to make history in Jackson. The fight for the top spot in the MVL is still close. Right in the thick of it are the Philo Electrics. Tonight, Philo traveled to John Glenn to face the Little Muskies. And our Megan Stamper was there. How did the Electrics fare tonight, Megan?
You know, Danny, the Philo offense has been electric this season, averaging 36.5 points per game. They scored 55 points last week in their matchup against Riverview, and they picked up right where they left off tonight against the Little Muskies. And it was a beautiful night out at Muskingum University for the Little Muskies homecoming game, but the Electrics wasted no time raining on John Glenn's parade. On John Glenn's first drive of the game, quarterback Matt Stewart dropped back, looking to pass for Reese Perkins, but the ball bounced off of his hands into the defender Cole Cox's hands, giving Philo the ball deep in John Glenn territory. 2 plays into that possession, quarterback Nate Baker keeps it himself and runs it in from 7 yards out to give the Electrics the early 7-0 lead. And another Muskie possession and another punt. Philo got the ball back again and marched straight down the field. And there's Dylan Tweedy with a 9-yard gain for the first down. bring it to the red zone, which sets up the next play. Baker decides to keep it himself again from the 1 yard line. The extra point was good, and Philo went up 14-0 still in the first quarter. And John Glenn had trouble getting anything going on offense all night, but Matt Leonard led the way on the ground for the Little Muskies, and here he has an 11-yard run, but nothing came from that drive. And later on in the second quarter, Stewart is looking to go deep and make something happen for the Little Muskies, but instead he finds another Philo defender, and Philo went on to win 35-7.
And so, Megan, it looks like that electric offense, they did come out and perform. So what has allowed Philo's offense just to be so dominant this season?
Well, Danny, Philo has a lot of weapons on offense, but what makes him so explosive is his experience from quarterback Nate Baker. Baker is a 2-year starter for the Electrics, and he makes smart decisions on the fly and can make plays on the ground or through the air. Tonight, we saw him score 2 rushing touchdowns in the first quarter alone. But what really makes this offense click is the veteran group of talent and experience they have. They have their big, deep threats in wideouts, Jacob Moeller and Colt Moore, and on the ground, they have a dual threat in Dakota Perry and Dylan Tweedy. Tonight, Perry and Tweedy shared the workload almost evenly, with 32 yards for Tweedy and 38 yards and a touchdown for Perry. Baker was the leading rusher tonight, though, with 38 yards and his 2 rushing touchdowns from the first quarter. A big, physical offensive line helps all these weapons click.
We've talked about Philo's offense, but what went wrong with John Glenn's offense tonight?
Well, a big issue for the Little Muskies tonight was not being able to convert on third down. They went 6 for 16 on third downs, and when you do that, you aren't giving your offense many chances to continue drives. They were able to rack up 127 rushing yards, but most of those yards came in the second half when the Electrics were already up by 28 points. After this win today, Philo moves to 4-1 overall and 3-0 in the MVL. All of Philo's big conference games are still to come in the second half of the season, but they have put themselves in a good position heading into those tough games against Sheridan and Tri-Valley later this year.
Well, I'm excited to see those games. Hey, maybe they'll take a shot against Tri-Valley. Thanks a lot, Megan. And homecoming out in Pomeroy and a solid matchup against River Valley. How could we not pick Meigs High School as a spot to find the next fan of the week?
Number 31, bring that to the press box. Take your prize.
Out here at Meigs High School, we interviewed a lot of crazy fans from River Valley and from Meigs, but tonight I gotta give it to Noah. He was out here leaping for joy for his team. So congratulations, Noah. You are the fan of the week.
Thank you.
River Valley and Meigs both suffered tough losses last week to start conference play. So tonight's game in Pomeroy had all the makings to be one of the most important games of the season. Now let's bring in Clay Benjamin to break down this matchup. Clay, each team had only one thing on their mind tonight.
Danny, these guys had redemption on their mind tonight. Both of these teams coming off tough losses from last week, neither of these teams wanted to start conference play with back-to-back losses. Now Meigs coming out with confidence on homecoming, and they got off to a great start. After Cole Adams returns the opening kickoff deep into Raider territory on the first play of the game. Lane Collins goes 35 yards to the house. 7-0 Meigs early in the first quarter, and that's just the beginning from the Meigs offense. On River Valley's first drive, Patrick Brown drops back to pass, but he's picked off by Christian Maddox, and once Maddox gets down the left sideline, he takes it deep into Raider territory, but the play is brought back by a holding call, but that would not stop the Meigs offense. On 4th and 5, Zach Helton, he finds Zach Bartram for 9 yards as he takes it down to the 1 yard line. A few plays later, Helton keeps it himself from 8 yards out, 14-0 Meigs, 4 minutes left in the first quarter. The first play after a River Valley fumble, Helton finds Bailey Carruthers, who goes airborne and catches it over the defender. You may see that play again later, Danny. 57-yard touchdown, 20-0 Meigs early in the second quarter. On the ensuing kickoff, The Raiders can't control the ball off the bounce, and after a scrum at the bottom of the pile, Meigs will recover, and just like that, they're back in action. 2 plays later, Zach Bartram, he takes it on the end around, 6-yard touchdown, 26-0 Meigs. They would add another score before halftime, making it 32-0 going into the locker room. But Meigs just holds on to win the second half, 38-34.
So Meigs, they bounced back tonight with a big win. But Clay, what happened in that second half?
Danny, whatever Coach Sparling said at halftime clearly worked, as the Raiders outscored Meigs 34-6 in the second half after being down 32-0. The Raiders scored on their first possession of the second half, had 2 pick sixes, and Trey Craycraft had a 45-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown. In the end, Meigs was able to hold on to the ball and just run out the clock.
Well, Meigs, they were able to hold on to it in the second half, mostly because of how dominant their offense was in the first half.
The Meigs offense scored 24 seconds into the game on their first play after Cole Adams returned the opening kickoff deep in the Raider territory. And with a great start like that, the Marauders had the confidence and momentum that they played for with the entire first half. The Marauders just ran all over the Raider defense with Lane Cullums. That man was the workhorse tonight in Pomeroy. And when the Raider defense shut down Cullums, Zach Bartram picked up the slack. The Meigs offense just had too many weapons tonight.
And for the Raiders, another tough loss. What's going on out in Bidwell, Clay?
Danny, this is the second straight week in which River Valley has fallen behind early in the game. It happened last week with NY, and again tonight with the Marauders when they came out and just hit them in the mouth. Coach Sparling and the Raiders need to eliminate those early scores so they can keep themselves in the game. The Raiders are a good team, as shown by their second half comeback. If they can eliminate those early touchdowns and cut down on the penalties, they can start winning some football games.
Well, we'd like to see that definitely, but what else does River Valley have to do to start getting some more wins and get back to their dominant ways like last year?
Danny, they have a new quarterback this year in Patrick Brown, as he was sitting behind Dayton Hardaway last year. Now, he just needs to build some confidence in the pocket. These last 2 weeks, he got hit early and got hit often. Once he gets that pocket presence, as he has in the second half, he just has great confidence, and he can lead this River Valley team, put up some big points.
We'll see if they do make a turn at the half-point mark. Thanks a lot, Clay. And all right, we're almost out of here, but before we do, it's time to revisit the standouts, the top uno, dos, tres plays of the night. Let's roll them out. Number 3, coming to us from Logan, Ohio, but it was Nelsonville-York who tore it up tonight. Hunter Edwards facing some pressure, scrambling around, but when he's ready for crunch time, he slings it out to Noah Andrews, this guy. He is agile and hostile. Andrew jukes out the Chieftains, and he takes it 35 yards all the way for a touchdown. And for our second play, it reminds me of something you'd see at a monster truck derby. Michael Castile, he takes the handoff and just trucks straight up the middle. Castile flattening Vinton County's defense, and I don't know how many guys had touched him, but hey, that was a 30-yard touchdown. And tonight's top play comes out of Pomeroy. Zach Helton drops back, throws a bomb, nearly picked off, but Bailey Carruthers reaches over. He says, "That's my job," and wraps it up for a 57-yard touchdown. That'll do it for this episode. Be sure to join us next week on WOUB. Until then, I'm your host, Danny Dean, reminding you there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.